Hi, writers. Today we're going to continue learning how we can be awesome fiction writers who write edge of the seat stories that keep our readers wanting to know what's going to happen next. Let's get started. So as we know, fiction stories are stories that have made up characters and events. So fiction stories are fun because we really get to use our imagination and make everything up, right? We get to create characters and problems and solutions and even made up settings where all of this takes place. So far, we've been working on using adjectives or describing words and trait words, character trait words, to bring our characters to life and help readers picture our settings. We know that it's important to tell about what a character looks like on the outside, but also it's very important to describe who a character is on the inside by talking about their personality and character traits, by having them do and say and feel things that show who they are. And it's super important to make sure we describe a setting because that's the time and the place where the story happens. And when you describe the setting really nicely with lots of color words and shape and size words, it really helps the reader imagine and create a movie in their mind of where the story is happening and who the characters are. Remember, we can use adjectives to describe nouns, right? Adjectives tell us about nouns, and nouns are people, places, animals, and things. So since our stories definitely have people, places, animals, and things, we have to make sure we use lots of describing words or adjectives to tell all about what those are like so our readers can really imagine them. Adjectives can help us explain what something sounds like, how something smells, how it tastes, what size things are, what color things are, how many of something there are, how it feels, how it acts or behaves, how it looks, and what shape it is. Some examples of adjectives are loud, fresh, sour, tall, short, orange, round, colorful, slow, soft, and 7. Today, we're going to focus on the last two elements, which are problem and solution, okay? I put these two elements together because it's kind of impossible to tell a really good story that has a problem in it, but then not tell the reader how the characters solve the problem, right? That would be an unfinished story. If a story told you about a problem that a character had, but didn't tell you how they fixed the problem, you'd be like, what? That wasn't a very good story, right? So it's really important that you really plan out your problem and your solution because this is the part of the story that leaves them on the edge of their seat wanting to know what's going to happen next. A problem is something that is causing trouble or harm that needs to be solved. It's something that goes wrong for the character. It's something that's hard for the character. It's something that gets in the way of the character getting what they want. Okay? And it's something that needs to be fixed or solved. Like if there was a fire in the house, that's a problem, right? That's something that's causing trouble or harm to the characters. And of course, if there's a problem, they have to figure out a way to solve or fix the problem, right? The solution is how the problem is solved or what the character does to make the problem go away or to fix it so that the character does get what they want. So in our fire example, if the house is on fire, maybe the solution is that the person living in the house calls 911 and 911 calls the fire department and they send a fire truck to the house and the fire truck puts out the fire with the hose and then everyone is safe and okay, right? So there's lots of steps that happen in a solution that you have to make sure you describe so that your reader can really imagine what's happening in your story. Characters usually try lots of different things to solve their problems. They don't just do one thing and then everything is fine. That would be boring. We have to make sure that we stretch out the solution by telling about all the steps that the character took to solve their problem, right? Maybe they try one thing, it doesn't work. They try another thing, it doesn't work. Then finally they try a third thing and it finally works and their problem gets solved and everyone is okay again and everyone's happy and safe again, right? So when you're think of a problem for your character, it's also really important to think about all the different things that your character will try to solve their problem. Okay. And you can always use and make a list like this to plan your story. You could write steps to my solution on top. Then you would write step 1 and write your first step. Step 2, write the character's second step. Step 3, write the character's third step. Now, when you're planning the solution like this, you're not writing your whole story here. You're just writing a quick sentence that describes the first thing they're going to do, a quick sentence to describe the second thing, and a quick sentence to describe the third thing. Then when you go to actually write your story, that's when you stretch out each step and tell me bit by bit exactly what the character is saying and doing during that step. Okay? So last week, I planned a story about a girl named Ray and a cat named Chiku, right? So today, I'm going to have you watch me plan a solution for my character Ray's problem. And if you remember, Ray's problem was that she woke up and couldn't find Chiku anywhere. And the solution that I wrote in my organizer was that Ray looks everywhere and then shakes a bag of treats. And the setting of my story was in Ray's house on a summer morning. Okay, so I have a solution here. It says Ray looks everywhere and shakes a bag of treats. But now I'm really gonna stretch out my solution by breaking it down into the 3 steps that Ray is going to take to figure out where Chiku is. So my step 1 is going to be that Ray looks in the closet. Now, that's not a lot of details. That doesn't really tell me or stretch out bit by bit exactly what Ray does as she looks in the closet or what she says or how she's feeling. It's just a short little sentence that describes what I'm going to write about in my story. My second step was that she looks in the bathtub. And again, this doesn't give a lot of details on what exactly she does in the bathtub and if she finds him or not, right? It's just a quick sentence of my second step. And then my third step is that Ray shakes a bag of treats and eventually finds Gandu. So again, this isn't my story. I wouldn't just copy these 3 sentences in my story and then say the end. That's not very exciting. I have to stretch out step 1, I have to stretch out step 2, and I have to stretch out step 3 by telling about characters' actions and words and feelings to make the story exciting. Let's read my story. So this is that story that I just planned about Ray and Chiku. Here we go. Ray was a big cat lover. She loved cats so much. She was so caring that she rescued every cat she ever met. That is, until she met Chiku. Chiku was the cutest, fluffiest, craziest cat in the world. He was so energetic. Chiku had long white, black, and dark brown fur. He even had a small freckle on his cheek, just like Ray. They were meant to be together. He was Ray's bestest friend. Everywhere Ray went, Chiku was sure to follow. They were inseparable. So in my beginning, I didn't talk about the character problem. I didn't talk about the solution or the setting. I just described my characters, right? I created my characters. I told you all about who Ray was, and I told you all about Chiku and his personality. I told you about them on the outside and on the inside, okay? Let's keep reading my story because next I'm gonna tell a little bit about my setting. I'm gonna stretch out and describe a strong setting now. It was a warm summer morning. Bright sunshine came through the windows and seemed to kiss Ray's forehead. Her fluffy white blanket was like a soft cloud. I don't want to get up, said Ray. She was snug as a bug in her bed. She took a big stretch and waited for Chiku to greet her. Every morning, Chiku was so hyper that he jumped up onto Ray's bed, curled up on her long black hair, and purred as loud as he could to wake Ray up. But this morning, She woke up to the sun in her eyes, and Chiku was nowhere to be found. Where could he be? Ray thought. So, in this part of my story, I described the setting and I told you a little bit more about how Ray and Chiku spend their mornings. And then I finally told you what the problem was. Ray couldn't find Chiku anywhere. There's our problem. Now we have to start getting into the solution. Let's see what happens. Remember, we want to stretch out our solution and tell exactly what steps our character takes to solve the problem, okay? So I'm not just gonna copy my 3 steps and say the end. Watch how I really stretch out each step and add some details about what the character said, did, and felt while doing that step. Here I go. Chiku, she shouted. She waited a moment, but still no Chiku. Now she was feeling worried. She threw off the covers and jumped out of bed. She ran to the closet and pushed her clothes aside. Chiku, she said. He wasn't there. So there's my first step. She ran to the closet, right? She looked in the closet, but I stretched it out a little bit about how she pushed the clothes aside, right? And she said, Chiku? Let's see my second step. We left off here. He wasn't there. She raced to the bathroom, opened the shower curtain, and peeked into the bathtub. Still no Chiku. Chiku, where are you, Chiku? Ray cried. So there's my second step. She raced to the bathroom, she opened the shower curtain and peeked in the bathtub, right? I stretched out that second step and told you a little bit about what she said, right? What did she say? Chiku, Chiku, where are you? Now let's move on to my third step. Then she had an idea. She ran to the kitchen and opened Chiku's food drawer to get Chiku's treats. Shake, shake, shake. The noise of the shaking treats brought Chiku running to the kitchen. Meow, meow, meow. Chiku screamed as he ran towards Ray. Where were you? Ray said as she picked him up and squeezed him in her arms. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Ray attacked him with kisses. Purr. Ray smiled and thought, the treats always do the trick. Okay, so there we have it. I stretched out my solution. I told you step by step what she did, and I included what the action she did, the things she said, and the things she felt, right? I also included things that Chiku said or felt or did, right? Chiku purred, Chiku meowed, and I added all those things in my story, okay? So that you were left on the edge of the seat like, oh my goodness, is Ray ever gonna find Chiku or is Chiku lost, right? You didn't really know until you got to the end of the story that everything was okay. That's what it means to leave your reader on the edge of their seat. It means making them think that the character is not gonna be able to solve their problem, but then at the end, things turn around and the character does solve their problem. That's what makes a story exciting. So today, you're going to plan out the steps to your character solution. So you're going to look back at all the stories you've written. You've written about 5 stories so far. And you're going to, on a piece of paper, or even in that story on top, you're gonna write steps to the solution. And then you're gonna write step 1, step 2, and step 3. You're gonna list it out, just like I did first. Then you're gonna go into the story and stretch out the solution by telling me each step and exactly what the character said and did and felt while doing each step, okay? So you have to really think, okay, this is how my character solves the problem, but what steps is the character gonna take to really get the problem solved and fix what was wrong, okay? So reread all your stories and work on adding a problem and stretching out the solution, okay? Remember, your fiction story should be one small moment, okay? So it's not telling me about so many different things that happened over so many days. It's telling me about one thing that happened to your character on one moment of one day and stretching that out by telling me bit by bit, step by step, everything the characters do, say, and feel, okay? Remember, after you write a story, it's really important to edit it, which means to fix capitals, organizations, punctuations, and spelling, and also to revise it. Maybe you reread it and you notice that you might want to add some details, words, or sentences to really make your story powerful so that your reader can imagine it in their mind. All right, friends, head on over to Class Dojo, reread all your stories, plan out a really nice step-by-step setting for all your stories by typing it right into the story. So go to the top of the story that you wrote in Class Dojo in your portfolio, go all the way to the top, and then write steps to the solution. And then put step 1, write your first step. Step 2, write your second step. Step 3, write your third step. Then go down to your story, which should be right underneath, and add in those steps and stretch out your story, okay? I can't wait to read your stories. Happy writing, friends. Talk to you soon.